Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back to check out some of these brand new Captivz that I got a hold of. As you can see, we have the Chaos Theory Captivz, and this is the very first wave of Chaos Theory. I don't know how many waves we'll have, but hopefully quite a few. And as you can see, let's just move the camera back a little bit. We've got 6 figures here. There are 12 in the line altogether, and I normally would wait until I have the entire lineup, but I'm not positive when these are going to actually start hitting stores. Could be right around the corner, but I figured since I already have half of the line here, I might as well just review half now, and then the other half once it comes out, and then I can get a hold of them, because some of these are really exciting, and I really didn't want to sit on them forever, so I figured why not take a look at the first half of round one, of wave one, and then we'll take a look at the second half once they are in stores and I get a hold of them. Like I said, there are only 12 in the line together. There are also supersized figures. So these are the supersized. I only have the Pyroraptor currently. It seems as though I knocked the Allosaurus over back there. But again, if you look here, you can see all of the dinosaurs that are in Wave 1. Still some really cool ones that I don't have quite yet. So I am very excited to get a hold of all of those. But like I said, right now we have the Giganotosaurus, we have the Ceratosaurus, which is one of the most exciting of all, the Ankylosaurus, the Nasutoceratops in the actual classic Nasutoceratops from Jurassic World, Battle at Big Rock colors, and we have the Allosaurus and Atrociraptor. So let's go ahead and jump to a closer look at all of these and check them out from there. So the first one we have is the Atrociraptor. This is actually a Atrociraptor tiger. Now looking at this, you might be confused by that because a tiger is normally an orangish color. But as I mentioned in the unboxing of these guys, there was talk of the Atrociraptors camouflaging in Chaos Theory. Now I don't really remember for sure. I wasn't paying too much attention to whether or not they were doing that. But since I do see the greenish coloration on other Atrociraptors in the Mattel line as well, I would think that that is probably the case. So you can see when it comes to this version of Atrociraptor Tiger, we basically have kind of like a light gray in the face there, and then you have like some darker gray that kind of patterns through. You can also see a dark wash is present on the figure. The light gray runs through the underside of our Atrociraptor, but then up here on the back you can see a really nice vibrant green, and that green is pretty much overtaking the entire upper side of the dinosaur. It also runs down into the legs a ways here. You also have a striping effect that moves down through the course of the body, starting back there behind the head and running all the way out onto the tail, which does look really, really good. And then again, that dark wash just tying everything together, even the greenish tones. And you can see the teeth are kind of painted in there, and we have like a yellowish tone and a black pupil, it looks like, for the eye. So it is nice to see such really nicely painted eyes on something so small. So that would be Atrociraptor Tiger. Now this figure sculpt wise is the same as the previous Atrociraptors, so no need to really take a look at the sculpt or anything. We know it's absolutely awesome, but very nice looking color variant. We also have the Allosaurus, and for the most part the Allosaurus just looks like what the Allosaurus usually looks like. We have a lighter tone, kind of like a light gray, similar to what we just saw in the Atrociraptor for the lower part of the body, and you can even see it appearing here in the face a little bit. And then you have like a dark wash present on this one, so you can kind of see it mixing and blending there with the light grays. But then you have a darker blue that sort of moves along the back, runs down through the front of the leg down toward the feet, and also you can see it all up here in the face, up in the snout, completely overtaking the lower jaw. So it's kind of just all over the place as far as that dark blue goes. And I think the paintwork as well looks pretty decent for this one. You can see a yellow eye with a black pupil, and the teeth are painted again for such a small figure. Like, look at that with my fingertip. That is a tiny, tiny figure, and again, the teeth being so small but painted fairly decently is very impressive. But what's really cool is when you turn the figure around, you can see not only do we have some blood here in the face for that injury, you can also see we do have the blind eye for the Allosaurus. So it is the exact Allosaurus that you see in Chaos Theory that we have when it comes to this release from the Captivz line. And I will say the blind eye looks like maybe it's applied a little bit too big, but still pretty decent. And so far this is only the second Allosaurus that anyone has released for the Chaos Theory line that actually does sport the blind eye, as the kind of goofy version from Mattel was the only other one that had it. So it's really nice to see that, as per usual, the Captivz line pays attention. We've also got the Giganotosaurus, and this one for the most part looks just like it did before. I think this looks kind of similar to the Wave 2 Dominion release. Not exactly the same one we had seen on Wave 1, because rather than the obvious patterning moving through, we basically have like this lighter tone with the dark wash for the underside, and then this darker tone that would normally be like a striping and stuff moving through the body. It's more just like completely overtaken the top of the dinosaur. So it's like kind of like the Jurassic World Dominion look, but a little bit more darker coloration moving through the upper part of the Giga, so a little bit different at the same time. And you can also see, again, we've got the green eye, black pupil, also similar to the way it looked on the original figure. The teeth are definitely a little bit sloppy as far as the paintwork goes on this one, but I guess they could be worse. Not terrible, just not really great. But you can see again how all of the colors just kind of blend together more so on this one. You can kind of see actually like a striping here moving through. So it's sort of similar to the way that the Jurassic World Dominion one looked, but it's not one of those figures that are an absolute must-have when it comes to this line. This one's just a really fun one added in. But when it comes to a figure that I would say is definitely a must-have, we have Bumpy the Ankylosaurus in the adult form. We have had Bumpy in the past in the Captivz line, but it was in the baby version. And this is the very first time that we've had this new, way better looking sculpt for the Ankylosaurus now in the smaller figures as well. And what's cool is, rather than just giving it the exact same look as the one that was recently released, which was the Jurassic Park 3 version for the JP30 collection, it does actually have the smaller horn on it, so it was very clearly retooled to be, Ankylosaurus Bumpy. And again, the sculpt, in my opinion, is absolutely spot on to what you see on Bumpy. It is incredibly highly detailed, also sports absolutely gorgeous paintwork. You can see the bluish tone here moving along the top. The tone of blue is perfect to what you see on Bumpy. You can also see a dark wash applied, as well as kind of like a light wash. I almost see like light grays and stuff in here as well. And then as you move down, you can see like a brown body for the dinosaur on the underside. Again, a dark wash applied down here, highlighting all of the detail, which is really nice. You can see a nice turn to the tail here for Bumpy, which is pretty cool. As you lead out into the club tail, again, we've got a light gray with a dark wash applied, making sure to highlight all of the detail of the club tail as well. And again, it is an absolutely gorgeous version of Bumpy the Ankylosaurus. You can see the eyes are painted pretty decently. Even the beak is painted. But I would actually say probably the best version of Bumpy out on the market right now. I think the supersized version will probably take the cake as far as this figure goes. But right now, I don't have the supersized one, so I'm going to go ahead and say that this is probably the best Bumpy when it comes to an adult that I've seen. Then we've also got the Nasutoceratops, and this time we have a Nasutoceratops that actually features a similar, coloration to what you see on the Jurassic World versions, and on top of that also the version you see on Battle at Big Rock specifically. You can see we have that reddish tone that kind of runs up into the frill, and also has that little circle with the light gray in there. You can see the frill, and actually the body color in general is kind of like a mixture of light and dark grays. That's like applied with like maybe a wash of like the light gray potentially. But you can see again the red run down here into the face. You have nothing but a black there for the eye. You can see the beak is pretty nicely painted. You can also see that the horns look cool because we have that darker gray that starts out on the horns, and then as it transitions out into the horns a little further, it does transition to a light tone. I really like that as well. And even the horns contain a dark wash. And as you move back into the body, you see the red kind of lead back and also follow along the back of the dinosaur out into the tail. And then we have the mixture of like the light gray and darker gray. It almost looks like even I see some slight hints of browns added to the figure as well as you move out there into the tail. But I think the Nasutoceratops is absolutely awesome as well, and again, probably one of the best versions of this dinosaur that we have on the market as well. And then, for me, the star of the show would be the Ceratosaurus. I'm so hyped for this one to be included because I'm such a huge fan of the Jurassic Park 3 Ceratosaurus. You can see that this one looks pretty nice. We've got some really nice looking scale detail that you can actually see popping quite nicely on the face here. You can see the horn sculpted out up here on the Snout, again, also painted with kind of like a light tan color. You can see the nostrils sculpted, also highlighted with a darker tone because this one as well has a dark wash. You've got the red for the face. You can see the mouth is opened. We've got the tongue in there. And again, you can see a little tiny bit of sloppiness when it comes to the paintwork of the teeth, but considering how tiny that figure is, that is not at all a surprise. And actually really impressive how nicely sculpted those teeth are. You can see for how small they are, they're really nicely sculpted. If you take a look from the front, very cool visual there of the Ceratosaurus kind of coming right at you. You've got like some osteoderms and stuff that follows along the course of the body here, following along the spinal column and the upper body. We have that darker tone that starts to pattern as you move out, and then you have this like yellowish brown for the lower part. Again, the dark wash tying it all together, and you continue to see that patterning with the darker tone as you lead out. You see the red decrease, and then we basically are left with that lighter tone and the patterning as you lead out into the tail. The tail also has a nice curve to it. The Ceratosaurus is kind of taking a step forward, which looks really cool, and look at how nicely sculpted even the feet are. You got like the scoots down the toes, the nails nicely sculpted. Again, the dark wash tying it all together. You can see dew claws over there. Man, this thing is an absolutely epic looking version of a Jurassic Park 3 Ceratosaurus, and to have it look so good in such a small form is just crazy impressive to me. It is easily one of the nicest looking versions of a JP3 Ceratosaurus that I have seen anywhere, and man, I'm so happy to see this in the Jurassic World Chaos Theory Captivz line. Cannot wait till these actually hit stores, because I'm definitely going to be getting another of these. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that maybe for like wave 2 of the Chaos Theory line, we can get like a supersized version of the Ceratosaurus. So Toymonster International, if you happen to watch this, maybe you should give us a supersized version of this Ceratosaurus. That would be awesome. But again, a very, very cool figure for this line. Definitely my favorite so far. The other thing I really wanted to show you guys is the fact that this is the JP3 version that came out, the supersized JP3 version that had come out for the JP30 line. This is the new version for Bumpy, and you can very clearly see they look super similar and probably are the same sculpt for the most part, but they've been retooled for sure. And one of the most obvious differences would be the positioning of the tail. For Bumpy, the tail curves to the side, whereas for the Jurassic Park 3 version, the tail went straight out. And the other obvious difference would be the horn. As you can see, the horn was the normal size for the JP30 version, whereas the horn for Bumpy is much smaller because that's the horn she has. So again, I have to give Toymonster International major props for going through the trouble of actually resculpting that figure a little bit, retooling it a little bit to give us that perfect version of Bumpy. Rather than just going ahead and using this sculpt they already had available, they made sure to give us the more screen accurate look. So major props for that. But overall, I don't think we need to do size comparisons, measurements, anything like that, because of course they're the Captivz line. We've had so many waves and lines of the Captivz brand already, so we don't really need to establish sizes, as we are very clear, I think, at this point what the size of these minis are. So the first half of the Chaos Theory minifigures, again, the Jurassic World Chaos Theory minis, the Captivz, are absolutely awesome. I think each and every one of these are really well done. The only one that I would say is, I wouldn't say a letdown, but probably one of the less interesting ones would be the Giga, because it looks basically like the same Giga we had for Dominion, just maybe slightly altered, so there's nothing super new or impressive with it. I wouldn't have minded seeing a new color variant for that one, but it still looks good for the most part, and, you know, looking like it did in Jurassic World Dominion. But we do have some other really cool ones, as we've got the Allosaurus. The Allosaurus is awesome because, again, we have the blind look for it, so just like with Bumpy, they tried to give us the more screen accurate sort of look for the Allosaurus, and I think they did a good job. The sculpt in general is really nice. It was nice the first time we had it. The paint apps look pretty decent and everything, but just really happy to see that they gave it the blind eye and the injury there on the face. We also have a Atrociraptor tiger who is now green, again giving it that camouflaging look, and I think the colors used on that one as well are really nice, and the Toymonster International Atrociraptors are some of the best on the market easily, so that's a very cool figure. Then we have the Nasutoceratops, which again is probably one of the nicest interpretations of a Jurassic World Nasutoceratops we've seen from anybody so far. The sculpt is really nice, very highly detailed. The paint apps as well are really nicely done in this one, more so resembling that classic Nasutoceratops look. On top of that, you've got Bumpy, who is easily one of the stars of this wave and this line as a whole. It's so nicely done. The sculpt is absolutely spot on to the way it looks in this show. The paint apps are also really well done considering it is a minifigure, and the fact that there is a supersized version is something also that I'm very much so looking forward to. Can't wait to get my hands on the supersized version, but Bumpy is absolutely excellent here. And then you have the JP3 Ceratosaurus, which is also fantastic. Again, sculpt-wise looks so good. The paint is really nicely done. Honestly, the only thing some of these figures are missing would be nail paint, and outside of that, the paint jobs on these are pretty much like a chef's kiss here. So really impressive stuff, but the JP3 Ceratosaurus is far and away my favorite from this entire wave, maybe from the entire series. But overall, this is a great wave of dinosaurs, a great wave of Captivz, and now I have to wait for the figures to begin hitting Walmart so I can grab and capture the second half of Wave 1 and review those for you guys as well. But again, like I said, check your local Walmart, continue to follow along with what Captivz they have. Right now, I think it's the color changed figures, but they should be transitioning over to these Chaos Theory ones very soon, and make sure you grab them when they do. Of course, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Toymonster International and Playwise Partners for hooking me up with these figures, giving me a chance to take a look at them a little bit early. And of course, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.